What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. Breaking news, and I have a video tomorrow talking about Danielle Smith and what her statement was to Mark Carney after winning last night's election. But this was too important to leave for today, to wait for tomorrow. It had to get out now. So if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe, turn on your bell for all notifications, join me for every video that comes out here so you're not missing a beat when it comes to news, because things are heating up. It's about to get nasty up in here. Many people were saying that with last night's election, with the way things went, that Alberta felt unrepresented, other provinces have felt unrepresented, that you're going to see turmoil and push. I said, take a breath, keep it together. Things are about to change, and we don't know what change that is going to be, but it wasn't the change we voted for. Well, already today, that change has come full force. Danielle Smith making amendments to Alberta's voting rules. And what does this mean moving forward? Well, essentially, it's a push for Alberta independence, Alberta separation getting kicked off without having that done. Let's get straight into it. I want to show Keith Wilson, good friend of the channel, friend of mine, fantastic super lawyer, tweeting out breaking: Premier Smith unveils major updates to Citizens Initiative Act. Now only 177,000 signatures are needed to trigger a referendum on Alberta independence, down from 600,000. Plus, the signature collection period extends from 90 to 120 days. This is absolutely monumental. It's huge. This is the push for Alberta separation. Now, Danielle Smith, being Premier of Alberta, she can't come out and just say, we're going to separate. This is going to be a mandate from the people. This is the people of Alberta that are going to demand this. But she knows, and she already threatened there would be a mass unity crisis should Mark Carney's Liberals win the next election. She recognizes that. Now, I, for one, was very reserved to think that Danielle Smith might be the person to lead that charge, that she may try to find some form of unity within the province before moving forward with such action, but no steps being taken. Danielle's letter said that in the coming weeks, months, Albertans were going to have to see what Mark Carney had to do. Again, that's in tomorrow's video. Go check it out. But then today, changing the rules, essentially saying, look, I'm not going to be the one to push the button. However, Albertans are going to have the rules changed a little bit so that they can do it. And this is where it gets really monumental. Let's get over to what Danielle actually posted. Now, she had a very long press conference today where she covered all this, but we're going to go over it note by note here so that people understand what this means. Albertans deserve elections that are fair, secure, and reflect the true will of the people. That's why our government is introducing the Election Statutes Amendment Act with the following proposed changes. First, banning the use of electronic tabulators and other automated voting machines, requiring all ballots be counted by hand to protect election integrity. Now, that has always been Danielle's priority. We want our elections secure. Again, I know people were talking about ballot boxes and things like that before the federal election. Alberta did things a little bit differently. They are pretty much on the ball when it comes to whether or not they let you in with proper identification, but those things, again, are outlined here. Eliminating vouching at voting stations to strengthen identification and verification processes, meaning that if you say, oh, I didn't bring my ID, but this person knows me, and they go, yeah, it's him, he lives at that address, or she lives at that address, can't do that anymore. Requiring unofficial vote counts to be completed within 12 hours of polls closing to provide timely, reliable results. Voters being required to cast their ballot in their constituency of residence or by requesting a special ballot. I believe it gets into what the special ballots are going to do. Expanding access to special ballots, allowing any voter to request one without needing to provide a reason, while protecting integrity by requiring voters to personally request their special ballot with exceptions for those needing assistance due to disability. Updating the Recall Act to make it easier for Albertans to hold elected officials accountable by lowering the signature threshold and extending the time frame to collect signatures. So this is where we get into the referendum vote. Improving the Citizens Initiative Act process by setting the threshold for all successful petitions at 10% of eligible voters who participated in the last general election. Allow corporate and union contributions for provincial elections while maintaining transparency and accountability through existing financial disclosure requirements. Improve access to voting for First Nations and Métis settlements during referendums and Senate elections. Enhance emergency response provisions for voting disruptions during referendums and the Senate elections. So, what it means here with the signatures, 10%, this is where Keith Wilson goes back into it. We had said already, especially on last night's live stream, we talked about it in great detail in other videos about how Alberta already really had 30% without a clear leader of a separatist party. Alberta already had 30% of its residents backing separation. That number exponentially grew last night with a Mark Carney minority government win. What you have here now is people that had always said, and people were tagging me on Twitter saying, Fringe, it's never going to happen. You're never going to get the signatures. You're never even going to get started out of the gate. Urban aren't going to vote for separatization. They're not going to vote for leaving Canada, especially when you look at possible liberal ridings in certain cities. Now that number has decreased just to trigger the referendum. The rural voters, rural always turns out for elections. Even Parkland County, where I'm living now, had almost 100% eligibility voter turnout. You're going to see those signatures hit paper should we get to a referendum. And if things are bad enough with Mark Carney, if people are tainted enough from the results of this election, this could be the path forward immediately following the election to Alberta reaching its goals. Folks like Jason Levine, again, good friend of the channel, ran for the PPC in Parkland County, tweeting out that they had 400,000 people strong already, ready to go. This is insane. So again, it now only needs 177,000 signatures to trigger a referendum on Alberta independence instead of 600,000. That number just shrank significantly. Expect to see in the future Alberta at least weighing in on where it wants to be in the future, what it means for Alberta, what it means for Canada. I wasn't kidding last night when I said that people voted for Team Canada, people who voted for elbows up. Well, they don't realize what they actually voted for. They voted for the end of Canada. They voted for the destruction of our country. Now, am I pro-separation? To a certain degree, yes. I want a better life for my children. I want a future for them. I want them to be able to afford a home. I want them to be able to find a decent job that pays them well. And under Mark Carney's Liberals, or the lost Liberal decade that we've just ensued, which now is going to go into roughly 14 years if we get a full term from Mark Carney, that seems more and more unlikely for my children. So as a parent, yes, I want what's best for my kids. As a Canadian, I love my country. But when you've got Ontario's boot on your neck, mostly the federal government, I'm not talking about the people of Ontario, Albertans get to a point where they say, look, Toronto and a small portion of Ontario decided that Mark Carney was in charge for the next 4 years. We feel our vote doesn't have any weight. It doesn't have any relevance in any federal election. We're never going to get out of this. This is the way forward, people feel, like it or not. Make sure to stay tuned to this channel. I will be covering as this continues. Again, tomorrow's video more focuses on the threat made to Mark Carney, but Danielle changing the rules so that Albertans have some of the power. Rightfully so. The people should have their say. Let me know what you think down below. Now, with these rule changes, do you think this presents a stronger case for Alberta separation? Do you think that Alberta will secede from Canada Confederation? Do you think that Mark Carney's got a serious wake-up call? Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Again, if it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Make sure you hit that button, turn on your bell for all notifications so you don't miss a beat anytime these videos drop, especially with this. It's going to be a slobber knocker. It's going to heat up quickly. I have a feeling, especially if these rules are changing just less than 24 hours after the election. Let me know what you think down below. Leave a comment and a like down below. Turn on your bell again for all notifications. Join me live here on the channel Friday night for Friday Night Fringe, our live streaming show, where I'm joined by the beautiful Mrs. Fringe as we go back and forth throughout everything that happened this week in politics, everything we know that's coming up ahead, as well as your Q&A and hearing what you have to say in the most amazing, unbelievable community on the entire YouTube platform. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to hearing what you have to say. I most importantly look forward to hearing what you have to say this Friday night, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central. I hope to see you there. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.